What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the crew too. And well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday, which means a new summit is now live. And I would say this week is going to be pretty special. We have the Rising Sun bringing another return back to the game here, which is going to be the Lancer Red Fury Edition. Definitely one of the coolest looking cars we have seen in the game so far. Then in gold, we have the legendary half set boosted, which is going to be a score breaker set for the drift class. And then in silver, we have the red smoke, which I think is pretty self explanatory. But moving over to the Santa Special is going to be one of the weirdest summits ever. At least for a platinum reward, we have the ugly Christmas sweater. I'm honestly kind of mixed on that, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below about that as a reward. And then in gold, we have the Dodge Challenger Demon Interception Unit. By the way, guys, if you do own the vehicles that are coming out in the summits already, I do believe you get the money back for them immediately once you complete the summit. And then moving over to silver, you guys will get yourself a loot digger set for the street class, which honestly I do believe is only going to be 3 parts. And to be honest, I would say most players most likely already have that set for their vehicle. But taking a look at this summit though, it looks like it's going to be a nice mix of events for the most part. I do want to know, by the way, guys, what do you think about the live extreme series? I feel like it's a very odd type of event they have in some. I do want to know what everybody thinks about them. I do find them pretty fun, but also kind of interesting for that matter. But moving over to the next summit is going to have the BMW M8 Performance Edition. Definitely a pretty cool looking vehicle. I would almost bet this is going to be a street car if you guys were wondering. I really do like the rims on this thing as well, and I wonder how it might compare to the regular M8. I honestly have not driven that car all that much, but I might have to test it out once again. And then in gold, we have the pink underglow, which is interesting. But moving over to the next summit is going to be the Rider Challenge, which is going to give us a platinum reward that I would say is probably going to be on the rare side for chemist sets, at least for the classes in the game. We normally get something for like the touring cars or something like the hyper and or the street, but it looks like we're going to get one for the motocross class, which honestly guys I would recommend going after. It could be one of the more annoying classes to level up, especially if you don't like the dirt bikes, so I would recommend going after this one. Then finally after that we'll have the Untamed Italians, which I do believe is going to be the Lamborghini Performante, which is probably going to be insanely intense. And now moving over to the Rising Sun Summit here, starting off with the low altitude. So for this one, I did indeed pick the Zivko Edge 540 V3 once again. I would honestly say, guys, this is probably going to be one of the best planes to run. And luckily on the Glacier Park, all you really have to do is basically start off and hit the objective, and you can pretty much follow the river all the way until the thing runs out of time there. So I would say that's going to be the easier route. And also the Harman Rocket 3 is going to be a great plane as well, but for some odd reason I basically only use the Zivko Edge because I honestly do believe this is one of the best planes in the game. And then moving over to the next skill is going to be with the boats, and for this guys it is indeed going to be a slalom. So for this I would highly recommend trying out the Vector V40R, and I definitely would say this is one of the best boats in the game for slaloms and or buoy smashes, which is kind of funny considering there's also a buoy smash in this summit as well, which I would definitely recommend trying out the Vector once again guys. I really do love this boat for these. The way this thing can maneuver and turn, I feel like it's a lot better than the 1414 Demon. It might not be as fast in an aspect, but I would say the handling is by far going to be a lot better. And then moving over to the first event in the summit is going to be a no restriction street race, and for this one I actually picked the Infiniti Q60, which I'm not gonna lie guys is probably not going to be the best option for this event. If you were to check the leaderboards, by the way, you're probably going to notice about 95% of the vehicles is probably going to be the Countach LP 5000, which is honestly for good measures. That car is by far going to be like the new quote unquote meta. It's honestly pretty dang amazing, but if you guys don't have that vehicle, or maybe you don't feel like using it, I would say the Infiniti is going to do pretty dang good. The handling on this car is definitely going to be better than many others. The only unfortunate thing is the Infiniti lacks a little bit of speed. And then moving over to the next event is going to be a street race where you guys get to test out the Red Fury Edition. It's also going to be the Miami Harbor, which I would say is going to be really good. Because this vehicle is going to be base level like 161, it's not going to be all that fast. And to be honest, even stock, I would say this thing is still pretty decent. It was holding turns very nicely and also having pretty decent speed for what it was. But again, guys, this vehicle is definitely not going to be all that quick. And then after that, we're going to have a drift event, which I would say a lot of players probably aren't the biggest fans of drifting. So for this one, you do have to drive the Nissan 370Z, which after a little tweaking, I would say this car is not going to be all that bad and honestly pretty decent. It's not going to be like the 370Z Pro Drift in any way that car is with the power, but even the base Nissan I would say is still going to do pretty good. And one thing I do want to point out, by the way, is you guys don't have to get 800,000 points on this. The main reason why I wanted to mention that is the fact that my friend did get about 154,000 points, and he only got 567k, which is still going to be really good. So I would recommend aiming for like 500,000 points on this because 800k is a little bit ridiculous. But moving over to the next event is going to be a drag race, and for some odd reason, I found this to be insanely easy. And the main reason why I say that is I normally am not a big fan of drag races on the Crew 2, and the Chevrolet Corvette honestly completely destroyed this, getting 8.8 seconds. And I did also notice that this drag event is not going to be very long, so I would say slipstreaming somebody is probably going to be kind of useless on this one. It's most likely going to come down to how you guys can hit your nitrous and how quick you can do it. But if you really wanted to, I say you could probably slipstream somebody for that little burst of speed. But even then, I would say you can still get like 130k doing this one solo. And then moving over to the next event is going to be a touring car race, and for this one you guys will be able to drive the Mazda MX-5. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm not the biggest fan of this car. I wouldn't say it's going to be terrible, but there's definitely better touring vehicles you can pick. Now depending on your guys' settings, I have noticed this car to be a little bit squirrely and or not the best thing when hitting nitrous, but to be honest though, I guess it's really not going to be the worst touring car in the game, but definitely not the best either. And then moving over to the last event in the summit, you guys will be able to drive the Ninja H2 in a hypercar event. And I would say this thing is actually not as bad as I thought, but to be honest, when driving the Ninja H2 on the Crew 2, I honestly feel like you're driving a washer machine or something like that, and or like a dryer. My goodness, Kenmore, please come get your appliance. This thing is honestly ridiculous, but I would say it's probably going to make a lot of sense in a way because in real life the Ninja H2 is pretty heavy, and with all the power this bike is putting down to the ground, I guess it would make sense though. I would say the biggest thing in this event with the Ninja H2 is to be careful on the turns. You will definitely see how this bike is going to handle on them. And one other thing as well, guys, remember that the street bikes only do 203 miles an hour, so luckily you won't go through that much nitrous. And I would say that's definitely going to be a plus there because you can get the bike up to speed pretty fast. But besides that, I would say the Rising Sun is going to be a pretty dang fun summit. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all in the comments below, and let's jump right into this.